Aleph through the Tav, the letters of the deep in the art of the becoming. We usually fear the unknown. If this topic is not familiar to you, it does not mean that you need to fear it, but rather be inspired by it. I believe that this is a piece to our spiritual growth puzzle. If this teaching does not resonate with you and with your spirit, then perhaps you're not ready for it, and that's okay. But for the rest, may you be blessed through this teaching series. The frequency of being. These letters that you see here are the original letters that our scripture, our Holy Bible, was penned in. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and believe it or not, the New Testament was originally written in Aramaic, and not Greek, as we have been told. The only exception to this would be that the book of Daniel and Ezra were written in Aramaic, and they are part of the Old Testament. I guess you could look at it and say it's kind of a bridge to the New Testament, as when Jesus, Yeshua, or Isa came on scene, even the entire language had to change. This is the language that was used to convey the meanings to a Hebrew culture, not American one. Sometimes we need to be reminded that when the Bible was penned, it was penned to a group of people with a Hebrew culture and a Hebrew mindset, and our American one can sometimes confuse the message of the meaning that was originally intended for a completely different audience in a much older time. To say right now that the English is the authoritative translation kind of has a shaky foundation to it, and it really shows that one is spiritually lacking in enlightenment in the creative process intended for the maturing of God's people. The unfortunate part is that English is really obfuscating and limiting, masking the very nature contained within every letter that was originally penned for us. Each letter's definition and meaning has personal significance in revealing the true nature and intention of the inspired word. This inspiration is what was put in writing for our benefit, so that we could become all that the Creator had planned from us from the very beginning. This is a good time to introduce a concept that might be unfamiliar to some. It definitely was for me. It's the term cymatics. Cymatics researches the waves and the sounds that create harmonious geometric shapes. It is the science that studies the forms produced by the waves through vibrational frequencies. In 1787, the jurist, musician, and physicist Ernst Chladni published a work entitled Discoveries on the Theory of Sound. He devised a method to make visible what sound waves generated. With the help of a violin bow that rubbed perpendicularly along the edge of a smooth plate covered with fine sand, he made the patterns and shapes which today go under the name of Chladni figures. Chladni demonstrated once and for all that the sound in fact affects physical matter, and that it has the power to create geometric pattern. This is when he began to study in depth the topic and formed a new science, Cymatics. It was only in the 20th century that cymatics made a leap forward thanks to a Swiss scientist, Hans Jenny. Using the sophisticated modern equipment, Jenny measured, photographed, and experienced the effects of sound vibrations of all kinds on different materials and discovered that the forms created by the sound were predictable. For example, certain sound waves always created the same figures. In his experiments, he placed sand, dust, and fluids on a metal plate connected to an oscillator, which produced a broad spectrum of frequencies. As he watched the sand or other substances organize into different structures, he heard the sound emitted by the oscillator and if he lightly touched the plate, he could feel the vibration in his fingers. One of the most profound discoveries he made is that when pronouncing the sounds of the symbols of the ancient languages like Sanskrit or Hebrew, the actual shape of the symbol being pronounced was formed within the sand on the oscillator plate. Wow, incredible! So to make it a little bit more clear to you, stating it in a different way, when the symbol Aleph was pronounced, it formed the symbol in the sand as it was being spoken. He also found that our modern languages did not produce a similar result, as they do not carry the same vibratory frequency as the ancient languages contain within their symbols. Finding that sound creates shapes confirms a link between waves, substance, and form, which directly concerns all organisms. All of the studies and experiments conducted with the use of wave frequencies confirm studies and experiences that date back to ancient civilizations, and according to them, every sound wave and vibration is connected with a shape in space, generated by it, and kept in life and movement. Images seen in the Chladni figures show us geometric patterns familiar to us, such as crosses, stars, or even patterns similar to the flower of life. These are produced by various types of vibrations. So, if every sound, wave, movement, thought, and feelings create forms, then we too are continuously creating forms as we have the same vibratory nature. This adds additional meaning to the biblical passage that life and death is in the tongue, which is from Proverbs 18:21. I do want to note that tongue is not only connected with the vibration patterns of speech, but in this passage it also refers to the tongue of the Hebrew language. This is how we create our reality, and why the Hebrew language should be important to us today, as the vibration and frequency of it affects us directly, namely with our very own DNA. Let us now imagine that for some reason you can only see the static aspect of the form, and therefore you think that it is solid. The idea of a form generated by a vibrational field that resonates might seem a little irrational. However, each figure is instead the visible form of an invisible force, and every form contains information about the vibrations that generated it. This is also a scientific way to grasp the concept of the spirit as being an invisible vibrational force. The spirit creates through the word, which manifests itself through sound. We know this as language. This will be more important as we continue on in this teaching. Something to think about. Imagine someone stirs the sand on the oscillator plate and negates the form. Within a few seconds, the same form reappears. How do you explain it? You only explain it by admitting that the sound has special properties to modulate and shape the energy that is matter. So, what you think and what you speak is more important than we previously have ever known. A final thought. We were woven with a frequency. From that same awareness comes a famous statement of Pythagoras, who stated that geometry is solidified music. We are a solidified sound, music created by our Creator, sustained in life. Psalm 139:13 says, "For you formed my inward parts, you covered and wove me in my mother's womb." For more research on healing the body through frequency, see the story of Royal Raymond Rife, with Rife frequencies and everything that is concerned with healing through his modalities. You will be glad that you did. This is real. Everything you see in this video has been created through sound waves. May you be blessed in the understanding that vibration and frequency is everything.
Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
Until next time, Shalom, Shalom.